Welcome to NHL Quick Hits. I'm David Crosby here with Steele Roden, bringing you a ton of analysis and news from the hockey world, including a surprising front office hire in Ottawa, devastating reports out of Montreal, and some big new contracts, none bigger than Miro Heiskanen's brand new 8-year, $67.6 million mega deal from the Dallas Stars. The number 3 overall pick in 2017 had 27 points in 55 games this season, and that's on par with his sub half point per game regular season pace early in his career. Heiskanen, though, is an unbelievably talented skater and playmaker who boasts an impressive and underrated defensive game. He also had 26 points in 27 games during Dallas's run to the Cup Final 2 seasons ago. Steele, what did you make of this deal?
Uh, it was tough. I don't get me wrong. I think Miro Heiskanen is a fantastic, talented young player. I think the Dallas Stars paid just a little bit, overpaid just a little bit on this one. 8 million on an 8-year contract. I think that was overpaid, and you know because if you're looking at it this way, if on Cale Makar's next contract, he should be looking to get 10 to 10.5 million dollars. So and even then, which he probably is worth. But Miro Heiskanen at 8-year, $8 million contract is a little tough. I think they paid just a little bit. But like you said, he's a young, talented player. I think he's going to be a top 10, maybe even top 5 defenseman in the next 5 years. I just think for me, looking at the way, just comparing them side by side, Heiskanen and Cale Makar, I think he got overpaid just a little bit. But that's what we're seeing from these young players now. We saw that with Mitch Marner. We saw that with Braden Point. We saw that with Nico Rantanen with Colorado Avalanche. They're going to wait out and expect those big contracts at a very young age for long-term deals. And that's exactly what they got. And I'm hoping that he plays up to this contract, and I think he will. I just think he got a little bit more than he deserves. I think 7 million, 7.5 would have been a good number for me. But yet again, I think with the contract, I would give if Miro Heiskanen A plus, the Dallas Stars a B plus.
You know, it's funny. The first thing I thought of when I saw this come across is, wow, that's a ton of money. And the second thing I thought was, Joe Sakic probably just punched a hole in the wall of his office. And I could see Cale Makar and his agent probably dancing and celebrating because, like you said, they're almost for sure going to be asking in excess of $10 million per year. But we'll get to Cale Makar when that contract gets signed. Sticking with Heiskanen, I mean, I do think clearly Dallas believes he's going to be the face of the franchise into the next decade. Stars GM Jim Nill was quoted as saying, as an organization, the Stars feel that Miro has just scratched the surface of his ability and will be in the Norris Trophy discussion for years to come. Now, I'm not saying he can't do it. At just 21 years old, he's already a fantastic player, but he's now the sixth highest paid defenseman in the league. I said to you before coming on here, this seems like a similar bet to the one Ottawa made when they gave Thomas Chabot that 8-year, $64 million deal. At some point, the market is set. And like you said, you either pay it or you don't. And where Dallas is coming from, of course they're going to pay it. They're not going to let Heiskanen get away, but they better cross their fingers and toes that he becomes as great as they think he's going to be, because that is a ton of money to pay for a guy if he just continues to put up a half point per game. That's just not good enough for a guy that's going to be making the top 6 in money paid, probably top 7 once Makar gets paid. Speaking of Ottawa, though, the Senators hired former NBC analyst Pierre McGuire as senior vice president of player development, adding another voice to the discussion with GM Pierre Dorion and the always involved owner Eugene Melnick. McGuire is maybe the most polarizing public personality in the hockey world, Steele, and I can't wait to hear what you think of this hiring.
Yeah, I was actually kind of shocked to see some of the other people on social media baffled by this decision of the Ottawa Senators to bring Pierre McGuire into their organization. But I think this is probably one of the best moves Ottawa's made in the last year. You know, McGuire is just one of the biggest, like you said, biggest faces in hockey right now. He's played the game, he's watched the game, he's coached the game. He's studied the game. He's been commentating on the game for so long now. He's been a part of this game basically his entire life. So he's going to bring a lot a lot to the table. His knowledge, his experience, it will be instrumental in moving the Ottawa team's organization forward and with their future. So I think this was a great signing by the Ottawa Senators organization. I think Pierre McGuire is going to do a fantastic job for them in player development. And I think this was, like I said, I think this was a huge signing for them, and he's going to do wonderful things for them.
You know, it's funny, Steele, we might be the only two people in the hockey online community that our first thoughts on this deal were positive, because I think this is a big risk from Ottawa, but I do think it could pay off. McGuire said that he has learned from previous mistakes he made as head coach of the Hartford Whalers and in other stops, which of course came to an unceremonious end. Melnyk cited, like you said, McGuire's experience, his knowledge of players as the driving force behind this move. And I can't argue with that. I think he offers a unique perspective on many players in both the prospect phase of their careers and potential trade partners around the league. Because as Melnyk said, this rebuild, he wants it to come to an end soon. He wants the Senators to start to compete. So I don't see them continuing a slow build and waiting for these prospects to be the best guys in their lineup. I think there's going to be some moves to be made. Now, he's a media savvy guy. He's really good with players. He's going to do a great job as the media facing personality in here, because some of the messages coming out of Ottawa in the last few years, they've just come across really, really poorly. So I think while he makes a big addition there, he's definitely rubbed some of his colleagues the wrong way. And yeah, it maybe is a little unfair to go back a couple decades to the last time that he was in a hockey organization. But the way it ended there, you just can't change what happened with him, right? Not everybody had great things to say about him. And I also think Pierre Dorion has done a pretty great job in rebuilding this Ottawa team, considering what Melnyk wanted him to do and just trade away all their best players. I think this is almost a little bit unfair to Dorion, because, McGuire is going to have the big voice in Melnyk's ear saying, listen, that, player development is a huge voice in the Senators organization because they're so focused on the young people there. Is he going to push Dorion out of the building? Are they going to be able to work together? Is he eventually going to be somebody that Eugene Melnyk listens to more than Pierre Dorion? So while I like this deal like you, I like that, they're bringing in a smart hockey guy who knows his stuff. I do see that this could maybe cause some clashes in this front office, which is the last thing the Senators need right now, because obviously their reputation around the league, it probably hasn't been lower than it is right now in quite a while. But I don't know. I mean, everybody's going to be watching. I think at the very least you can say a lot more eyeballs are going to be on Ottawa, because nobody can wait to see how Pierre McGuire does in this new role. Let's stick up north, though. After Canadiens fans rode high on a magical run to the Cup this season, reports out of Montreal indicate Shea Weber might miss the entire upcoming season, and potentially even more than that, due to his ongoing battle with injuries. That includes his knee, ankle, and thumb. He may also be exposed in the upcoming expansion draft. So who knows how much of these reports are kind of gamesmanship from Montreal, hoping that they can expose him and not lose him in the draft, or whether this is a legitimate chance that Shea Weber might actually retire, which would be crazy to see after, of course, the captain carried Montreal all the way to that Cup final. He has 5 years left at nearly $8 million per season. He could go on long-term injured reserve. He could reportedly even retire. That would have huge implications for both Montreal and his former Nashville team. What's your reaction upon hearing this news?
It sucks. It honestly just sucks. This could be the end of Shea Weber's career. And these career-threatening injuries, it's not just one. Like you said, it's his thumb, it's his knees, it's his ankle, it's his foot. There's just so much going on with his body, and it's been going on over the last couple of years. It just seems like he can't catch his footing, and it seems that it's not healing the right way. So I think this might possibly be the end for Shea Weber, and especially on the verge of him almost winning his first Stanley Cup, to get all the way to the Stanley Cup Final, lose the way that they lost against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then potentially not even being protected by the Montreal Canadiens going into this expansion draft. It sucks, because if he gets picked up by the Seattle Kraken, I can really see him retiring from the NHL and not playing hockey anymore. But maybe Montreal exposes him and Seattle just passes on him because of all these injuries, and then he can take a year and a half to finally get back in his groove and get his health back, because it's super unfortunate what we've seen Shea Weber deal with all these injuries over the last couple of years, especially moving into next season where he's probably not even going to be able to play. So for me, it honestly just sucks just the way he lost this year in the Stanley Cup Finals. Seeing, all of these rumors, like you said, about the expansion draft coming up, and all of these, and honestly, just I feel bad for him personally. It's not a fun feeling dealing with multiple injuries, especially that have been nagging with you over the last 2 years. So for me, it sucks. It's going to be a really sad thing to see if he does retire this season. I really hope that he doesn't, and I pray that he comes back to the Montreal Canadiens healthier and better than ever. But for me right now, I just hurt for him, and I feel sorry for him.
Perfectly said, Steele. I hope that, in the best case scenario, maybe he does take the whole season off and he comes back looking more like the Shea Weber we got so used to seeing for years and years. Let's grade a few more moves here, starting with Brandon Carlo's new 6-year, $24.6 million contract. How would you grade this deal?
A plus. There's no other way to put it. Do you know why Boston is so good every single year? Like every single year, they're so good. It's because they sign these players, these tough, big, talented players, to under $7 million contracts. There's not one person on their roster that is making more than $7 million a year. And they have David Pastrnak, Brad Marchand, Patrice Bergeron, Tuukka Rask is an unrestricted free agent this season as well, and then Charlie McAvoy. Not one of those players are making over $7 million, when probably all four of them could be. So the fact that the Boston Bruins can manage to sign these guys on long-term deals for under $7 million is just unbelievable. And that's why the Boston Bruins keep coming back every single year, potentially getting to the finals, the semifinals, always in the playoffs. So for me, this is an A plus of a deal for Brandon Carlo and the Boston Bruins. 6 years at $24.6 million over those 6 years. To me, it's just a no-brainer. It's one of the best contracts that we've seen so far in this free agency market. And to me, yeah, A plus for the Boston Bruins, A plus for Brandon Carlo, and that's why the Boston Bruins are so damn good every single season.
Well said, Steele. I think it might be underselling them saying they're one of the best organizations at handing players, really high value deals, because a team like Tampa Bay, well, they built a juggernaut. They're also in a tax-free state. They have an advantage that Boston doesn't even have. And like you said, year after year, they just keep pumping out these deals. Carlo, a big presence, plays tough defensive minutes. He's worth every penny of that $4.1 million cap hit for the next 6 seasons. Of course, that should be the prime of his career as well. So the rich just keep getting richer. Let's head a little further south, where it's been a busy week for the Florida Panthers, who bought out the last 2 seasons of Keith Yandle's contract at $6.35 million per year. That'll save them $2.4 million this year, $5.4 million next, and then cost them $1.24 million against the cap each of the following 2 seasons. Now, that did give Florida some room to sign forward Anthony Duclair to a 3-year, $9 million deal, and Gustav Forsling to a 3-year, $8 million pact. How do you like this trio of moves from the Cats?
Yeah, I'll start off with Anthony Duclair, just because we've talked a lot about him over this last season. And I've stated so many times that this season with the Florida Panthers was a proven season for him, where he can finally find a home. Because like I mentioned, he's been on 6 different teams over his 8 NHL career span. So for me, he was definitely looking for a home. He's not a scrub. He's a great player. It was just hard for him to finally find that chemistry with the teams, because he was bounced around so often. So obviously when you're moving back and forth from place to place, it's hard to find chemistry. It's hard to feel comfortable. It's hard to find your confidence when you keep getting shipped off to different teams. So for me, I think he finally found his team, and that's why he got this contract. 3-year, $9 million contract. I think he found great chemistry with Jonathan Huberdeau, and especially when Sam Bennett came over from the Calgary Flames at the end of the trade, before the trade deadline. So he found great chemistry on that second line with them. I think he's going to do great things in the next 3 years with the Florida Panthers, and he's going to help them to move in the right direction as well with those top guys, Sasha Barkov and Jonathan Huberdeau. Over to Forsling. Again, I think this was a great signing for the Florida Panthers as well. Just another guy you can, great defender on the back end that can be on the second pairing. So for me, I would grade this another A plus. Just both of those guys, I thought this was a great signing for the Florida Panthers. And then Keith Yandle's a different story. I think, like we heard at the beginning earlier of this season, back in January, they let him know that he's not going to be a part of their future plans and that his Ironman streak might be coming to an end. Unfortunately, or fortunately, it didn't at the time. But yeah, so they let him know early that he wasn't going to be a part of their future plans. They end up buying him out of his last years of his contracts now. And for me, I think like Ryan Suter, he's going to find a lot of offers from teams as well. For Keith Yandle, this is his first season in his last 6 seasons where he's recorded under 45 points. This season, he had 27 points in 56 games, which is still not bad for that time period. But Keith Yandle, he's 34 years old. He's still got a lot of room and a lot of game left in his career. So I think there's going to be a decent amount of teams looking to sign Keith Yandle. And like Ryan Suter, both of those guys are going to be targeted this offseason. So for Keith Yandle, it sucks that his career with the Florida Panthers is over, but there's still a lot of teams out there that are looking to sign some veteran defensemen for leadership qualities.
Probably tough on those fans, but like you mentioned, some of those issues he had with the Panthers, similar to those that Zach Parise had with the Wild last season. It's kind of going to be nice to see those guys get another opportunity somewhere else. And I also love the deals for both Duclair and Forsling. Great value for both of those guys, who I think are underrated contributors that should allow Florida to keep getting better this coming season. That's all for today's episode, but stay tuned for more, as we'll have plenty to discuss this summer, including the Seattle Kraken's expansion draft and the NHL entry draft just a couple days later. On behalf of Steele Roden, I'm David Crosby, and thanks for tuning in to NHL Quick Hits.